Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophet Awakening. This is our evening Shabbat class, the 10th of May, 2025. Okay, we'll be dealing with permanent changes for our topic for discussion through so-called Project 2025. Introductions to our, you can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos you can look at, examine the scriptures, and get the meat out. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Okay? This is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called book of remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. It was given to Moses by our Redeemer and our Savior, the Lord of hosts. Okay? This channel was created to assist Hebrew Israelites who are waking up in these to their true identity in these last days. Okay. Shalom and welcome to the channel, and welcome to our evening Shabbat class. We're gonna do our normal, which is a moment of silence, Sabbath prayer, we'll read the Psalms. We have some current events, some need to know information. Then we open it up as a Q&A and dialogue, and then we'll go into our topic of discussion, like I was saying. We'll be dealing with Project 2025, and then we'll pick a scripture, break that down, and then we'll close out. Okay. A moment of silence for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay. Oh Lord, we come before thee at the closing of your Shabbat, thanking you for your mercy and your great power. And we appreciate you, O Lord, for your patience and guidance in these last days. Oh Lord, we thank you for waking us to this great understanding of your word. Oh Lord, we see your mighty hand in the world's affairs and how you are constructing your people's deliverance. And we trust and rely upon thee. And for this cause, we honor and respect you greatly. Turn not thy face from us, O Lord, but allow us in our searching of you to find you and to dwell with you. Peace be unto you. Okay, I'm going to read a psalm. Okay. Give me a minute. Okay. Read the psalm right quick. Okay. Okay, I'll read Psalm 32. It's blessedness of forgiveness, Psalm of David. Blessed is he whose transgressions is forgiven, whose sins is covered. Blessed is the man unto whom the Lord imputed not iniquity, and is in whose spirit there is no guile. When I kept silent, my bones waxed old through my ruin all the day long. For day and night thy hand was heavy upon me. My moisture is turned into the drought of summer. Selah, I acknowledge my sins unto thee, and my iniquities have I not hid. I said, I will confess my transgressions unto the Lord, and thou forgavest the iniquity of my sins. Selah, for this shall everyone that is godly pray unto thee in a time when thou mayest be found. Surely in the flood of great waters it shall not come nigh unto him. Thou art my hiding place. Thou shalt preserve me from trouble. Thou shalt compass me about songs of deliverance. Selah, I will instruct thee and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go, and I will guide thee with mine eye. Be ye not as the horse or as the mule, which have no understanding, whose mouth must be held in with a bit and a bridle, lest they come near unto thee. Many sorrows shall be to the wicked, but he that trusteth in the Lord, mercy shall compass him about. Be glad in the Lord, and rejoice ye are righteous, and shout for joy, all ye that are upright in heart. Okay, those are to the blessedness of forgiveness. Any comments on that? Anybody got any comments? Okay, I was going to read 9. So it says, be ye not as a horse or as a mule, which have no understanding, whose mouth must be held in with a bit and a bridle, lest they come near unto thee. So, and that is stiff neck, you know. The truth come, proper right knowledge come to you, but you reject, stiff neck to the point where you can't see the truth and you reject it. Okay. So with that being said, if nobody have any comments, we'll talk about we do these current events today. We'll break them down as we go.
Holy, 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 welcome to the African News Channel, your trusted platform for honest, unfiltered, and Pan-African news updates. If this is your first time here, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay informed and empowered with every video. Your support helps us shine a light on the untold truths across Africa and beyond. Disclaimer: the following content is based on credible public sources and verified online reports. It is intended solely for educational, analytical, and informational purposes. We do not endorse violence, hate, or misinformation. Our aim is to inform, inspire dialogue, and advocate for African self-determination. In a powerful address to a massive crowd, Captain Ibrahim Traoré exposed what he described as a secret plan by ECOWAS to invade Niger and other AES countries. He reminded the region that ECOWAS itself was founded by junta leaders with a mission to uplift and unite West Africa. Traoré urged ECOWAS to return to its roots, supporting the people rather than acting as agents of imperialist interests. He concluded with a clear warning: if ECOWAS proceeds with such plans, the AES alliance will be fully ready to defend itself.
We have been warning for over a year. The local lackeys, the salon slaves, not to betray their homeland for the benefit of imperialism. Some understood and aligned themselves. Others did not understand, perhaps thinking themselves clever. But today, we no longer have feelings on this matter. Anyone who betrays their homeland for the benefit of imperialism will be treated as such. Returning to our famous ECOWAS. Since we decided to leave ECOWAS, the salon slaves have been activated everywhere. They want to scare the people. They want to scare everyone. Thank God. In the recent past, there were only a handful of people who had the right to speak. On TV sets, what they said was considered gospel. Today, with new technologies, which of course have advantages and disadvantages, everyone has the right to speak. And I think that the are the first to come forward. Everyone can see their analysis on a situation. We can certainly make mistakes, but when someone comes to us to understand, we are very open to explaining the steps to you. Have decided to unite. We are waiting for this standby force.
Why would ECOWAS, a body originally meant to promote regional unity, contemplate war against fellow African nations bringing real development? When will ECOWAS leaders stop serving foreign interests and start acting for their own people? Is Africa prepared for a continental confrontation if this warning is ignored? In Europe, a dramatic video has emerged of a Polish politician setting fire to the European Union flag during a live broadcast. He called the EU a useless organization that only survives by exploiting third world countries and relying on American military protection. Though his actions may seem extreme, his argument has stirred strong conversations. Poland, notably, is one of the few European nations whose borders remain protected from illegal immigration, and its economy continues to grow rapidly. Is this politician exposing a hidden truth? Can African nations draw inspiration from Poland's independence in safeguarding its borders and economy? Or will they continue to serve global institutions that do not serve their people? Meanwhile, veteran Nigerian actor Kanayo O. Kanayo has taken a bold stance against the Catholic Church's symbolism. He publicly criticized the Church for associating black smoke used to signify the failure to elect a pope as a symbol of disappointment. Kanayo explained that this is yet another example of how Western powers have psychologically colonized Africans into believing that the color black is synonymous with failure, evil, or bad luck.
Friends, the entire Catholic community has been expectant on the election of a new pope, and the cardinals have gone into their conclave to do that. So yesterday, what happened was that the news broke that the cardinals failed to elect a new pope, and what that meant was that black smoke came from the chimney. So when they fail, it's black smoke. When they succeed, it's white smoke. So this has been ingrained in the minds of the world that black is failure. And I think this is bad. The Catholic Church must rise up to this immediately. We've been denigrated, we've been vilified, we've done everything as black people. So this means that Africa is the black sheep of the world and is a black male. Catholic community, this is blue. Let blue smoke mean that a new pope has not been elected.
Probably one of the biggest questions that we get.
Okay, any comments on that? No comments, okay.
Shalom. I think he's right. I do think that.
The supermarkets.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was late.
That was the video. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think he's right in that they have done a really good job of associating everything bad and dark with blackness, and everything good with whiteness. And, with the onset of television, those westerns that Papa used to watch all the time. The good guy always wore the white hat, the bad guy wore the black hat. Black cat, black magic, all of that's supposed to be bad, and so on and so forth. We can go on and on with that, and I think he's right. There is a concerted effort to villainize everything that's black.
Right, especially with this last pope, because the two front runners was black dudes.
Right, and I think that I don't know. I was very suspicious when the guy that was elected, that there was a concerted effort to attach his heritage to blackness,
Right.
particularly Haiti, based
Right.
on what we know about their descendants.
Right.
I just thought that was interesting that that narrative is being put out there, and I'm sure they knew that, or it
Right.
was intentional, because it's for me, it's just this whole thing about now the one drop rule somehow is a positive for people who have a one drop rule, but it's still bad for those of us who have more. And
Exactly
it's,
right.
yeah,
So
so
it's
that's
just like to appease us. Think that's
right,
supposed to appease us because this
right.
person got a drop of what black blood in.
And
Yeah.
somehow
Yeah.
it makes them better or stronger because they do. Somehow
Right.
they're supposed to be they're better. They're somehow have some kind of quality that's good because they have one drop, but somehow those of us who have tons of it, it's a detriment.
Right. Right. It's an insult also to our intellect. Okay. Uh, Anybody else? Okay. Here we go.
I'm spending more than I should. A lot missing. Like I went to get some ground beef, couldn't get any of that. There's no chicken, no eggs. Crazy the way people have panicked. I mean, toilet paper? Really? Toilet paper?
Across America, from major cities like Los Angeles to peaceful communities like Charlotte, people are facing a reality: empty store shelves, shorter bills, but skyrocketing prices. But it's not just about supply shortages or a few temporary price hikes. It is a silent warning of a potential food crisis that could occur at any time and spread anywhere in the United States. In today's video, we will together go through the 10 cities at the greatest risk of facing the largest food crisis in America. Not in the poorest places, but in the cities that were once a source of pride, symbols of prosperity and stability. We are not issuing a panic-inducing warning, nor are we painting a bleak picture of America. This video is based solely on real data and real people's stories to help you see what is happening and why it might affect your own family. And then the final question will be for you. Is the city you live in on that list? Or worse, will it be the next name? Let's start with the first name. A gallon of milk in Los Angeles has now reached $7, nearly double compared to 2020. But what worries people even more is not just the price, but where to buy. Los Angeles has always been remembered as the capital of the film industry, a place of luxury, glamour, and upscale neighborhoods. But just a few miles away from Beverly Hills, you'll find a different city, where supermarkets are pulling out of working-class neighborhoods, food banks are operating at full capacity, and once stable individuals are now struggling to put food on the table each day. According to a report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, food prices in the Los Angeles metropolitan area have increased by 14.9% in just the past 12 months, with essential items such as eggs, milk, bread, and chicken recording record increases. Meanwhile, chains that have been a lifeline for low-income individuals, such as 99 Cents Only and Grocery Outlet, are continuously announcing mass closures, especially in inner-city areas like Boyle Heights and South LA. The elderly, especially those living alone or relying on pensions and Social Security, are the most affected group. A 72-year-old woman living in the Highland Park area shared, "I used to be able to walk to the store at the corner. Now that's no longer possible. Every time I need to buy something, I have to take 2 bus rides. Some days, just to buy a carton of milk." For the middle class, those with stable jobs but living amidst high costs, their sense of disappointment does not come from poverty, but from the lack of choices. Organic food, quality meals, dining out on weekends, all have become luxuries. Many families have to switch to canned foods, instant noodles, and cheaper fast food, which pose health risks. The American dream used to be owning a home, raising children, and having a refrigerator full of food. But now, right in Los Angeles, a symbol of prosperity, many people are having to choose between food and medicine. And if that's happening here, is there anywhere safe? New York, the city that never sleeps. But for thousands of elderly people living alone here, sleep is anything but peaceful when the fridge holds only a few cans of soup and half a stale loaf of bread. In Manhattan, where a single restaurant dinner can cost over $100, many residents are learning to survive on a $110 monthly food budget. A retired woman shared, "I no longer have the energy to travel far for groceries or compare prices at markets like I used to. Every time I go to the store, I have to calculate as if I were solving high school math problems." According to the latest statistics from the New York City Comptroller, an estimated 1.4 million city residents, 17% of the population, are experiencing food insecurity, the highest figure in 20 years. Notably, nearly 36% of New Yorkers over 60 reported that they had to cut back on meals in the past year due to rising food prices. In boroughs like the Bronx, Queens, and northern Brooklyn, grocery stores are increasingly withdrawing from lower income neighborhoods. According to the non-profit organization City Harvest, nearly 100 small grocery stores and supermarkets have shut down in NYC in just the past 2 years, mainly because they could no longer bear the rising costs of rent and transportation. The result is that many neighborhoods have turned into urban food deserts, where residents must walk 10 to 20 blocks just to find fresh produce or milk. For the elderly, disabled, or single mothers without cars, this is not just inconvenient, it's impossible. Meanwhile, prices continue to climb. Essentials like eggs have increased by 27%, fresh milk by 18%, and beef by nearly 30%. This surge disproportionately affects those on fixed incomes, particularly retirees, people with disabilities, and families relying on assistance. Nutritionally adequate. While the downtown area remains bustling, with cafes and upscale restaurants still in operation, just a few miles out into the suburbs, you will find neighborhoods without supermarkets, without choices, and without peace of mind. Atlanta used to be a place where workers found hope after each crisis. But now, they themselves have to ask the question, I did everything right, went to work, saved money, lived simply. So why can't I even afford a decent meal for the whole family? And that is the most worrying aspect of this crisis. It doesn't come from protests, but from the sighs every weekend, when people are forced to gradually cross off items that were once essentials of life. Phoenix, known for its year-round sunshine and rapid growth, is entering a quiet crisis. Fresh food is becoming scarce, and prices are rising to the point where many residents may have to give up their healthy eating habits. In communities like Maryvale, South Phoenix, or residential areas stretching along Interstate 10, residents are witnessing what they once thought could only happen elsewhere: empty supermarket shelves, soaring prices, and an increasing distance to fresh food. A report from the Arizona Food Bank Network shows that the rate of food insecurity in Phoenix has increased by 39% in just 18 months, with the most heavily affected groups being elderly individuals living alone and families with incomes below $60,000 per year. The major issue in Phoenix is that the infrastructure has not kept pace with the speed of urbanization. The city has developed too quickly over the past 10 years, with a growing population and a housing boom, but retail chains and food distribution centers have not expanded in time. Additionally, the cost of transporting food into the city through the desert is becoming increasingly expensive due to fuel prices and a shortage of drivers. It is estimated that food prices in Phoenix have increased by 12.9% in 2024, higher than the national average. Basic items like milk, eggs, beef, and fresh vegetables have all increased by 20 to 35%.
Okay, any comments on that? Can anybody relate?
Shalom. So one of my favorite little desserts is these double dipper chocolate covered peanuts, and I I went to the store yesterday to buy some, and they usually 2 packs for $3. They 2 packs for $9. That's, I mean, everything else I kind of, just went with the flow. But when I saw that, then I really realized the prices are going up. But the other interesting thing to me that I noticed over the past, I don't know, 30 or 40 years, when I was young, um, there used to be fruit trees everywhere. There was I think I noticed homeless people, but not the way I do now. And I remember being young, going, getting the used bread bag and going pick some plums or some blackberries. You don't see that anymore. And I
Right,
also remember them coming in our neighborhood spraying
right.
and stuff like that. And go ahead.
Insecticides.
Yeah,
That's what all of. Yeah.
yeah. And so now when they plant, when they do, I notice when they build neighborhoods and stuff now. I was reading up on it because I was trying to figure out how to grow some fruit trees in my backyard, and they said that they planted all male trees, no female trees. And that's why you don't see plum trees and any kind of fruit trees anymore naturally, because they have been systematically trying to control the food on this planet all this time. So
Okay. Yeah, I can go for that. Yeah, they just like I mean, they just they and then they put it under this under the guy this guy as mosquitoes. You see
right.
them swinging all the way. They was feeding mosquitoes, but they was killing all the vegetation.
Yep.
Yeah, because it used to be plum trees all along the highway. You just go anywhere, blueberries, and they just wipe them out. Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, sir. Shalom, everyone. I was going to say the same thing with picking the blackberries, right? You could find a blackberry bush anywhere on the side of the roads, in front of your house, everywhere. And we would pick them like crazy. They don't even grow like that anymore. And if they grow, they're very, very small.
Right,
So we got to think about everything that's coming ahead and prepare. Like he said, the middle class people, we're going to have it hard also, even with two people working in the household, with the prices going up. And we know that there's food shortages. We can't get the fruits and vegetables like we used to. So we got to think about uh, where you said, Brother Leonard, think like a Hebrew. We got to
right,
be smart, when it comes to shopping. So we got to, shop on sale. We got to look for coupons and use those. Try to purchase more non-perishable items. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to be smart when it comes to this, because they're trying to outsmart us. And Trump is doing exactly what he said he was going to do.
right, exactly. And notice in the video how they kept saying uh, places to get food is becoming scarcer and scarcer, and taking people where they usually can go right down the street and to a local place and get some shopping, but now the place is becoming limited. They becoming scarce, so that's a problem in itself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it
Oh
is.
yeah,
And I don't know if anybody else have noticed this, but more in the black neighborhoods, it can be
right.
a same store, for instance, like Winn Dixie that's in your neighborhood, but then there's another Winn Dixie on the other side of town, right? You can go to
Mm-hmm.
that Winn Dixie and find more fresh fruits and vegetables over there versus over in the black neighborhood. It seems like, I know for me, all the fruits and vegetables on this side of town is like old. It's already bad.
Right,
So why buy it?
right. It's like they sending certain trucks to your neighborhood and a different truck to theirs.
Right.
Is that something?
They've been doing that.
Oh yeah, exactly. Right. And like I
Yes.
said, we ain't been paying no attention to it, but now the eyes being opened up, you're starting to pay attention to all those things. Yeah.
I
So I
think.
got some neat. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Nah, go ahead. What you gonna say?
I was just gonna say but it's all by design, and it's just not gonna work. I mean, I'm not naive not to think that I'm not gonna have a difficult time. I mean, but I'm doing my best to prepare. But I think that I just believe that the harder they go to try to set up something to make us fall is just gonna be something they're gonna fall in before us. And that they're just all the stuff that they're doing right now is all artificial. And I truly believe that it's not going to be successful. I think it's going to be painful, but I don't think we're going to suffer the way that they're intending us to.
Exactly. Right.
Shalom, everyone. I don't think that we're gonna suffer, but we're gonna go through some hard times. So what I'm saying is, thinking like a Hebrew, we're not gonna be able to operate the way that we are normally used to operating. So we're gonna have to be smart ahead of time before things get bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just have to prepare ahead of time. We're going to be exempt from a lot of things because I have trust in the Lord of hosts when it comes to protection. But also I understand that he has given me wisdom, understanding, discernment to prepare because of what he is do. When they bring in a lot of these police officers and everything, I don't want to be out there in the midst of being stopped for no reason and having the headache. I just want to, I do. What anybody else does is on them. How they prep or whatever is fine. But I just sort of speak on what I see here in Louisiana where I am at. I see a lot of more stop and search more than I ever have. You can see that things are changing. So with our daily discussions on prophets and seeing that, that makes me prepare more, according to these times that are changing.
Exactly. Right, right. Anybody else got anything on that? Right, so I don't know if anybody heard about it, but I'm gonna play it. Yeah, it's crazy. This is right here. They had the big celebration over in Russia. Over the
best way to clean your dog's ears, Q-tip.
They had this big celebration over military celebration for Russia, and Putin had Abraham Tory to fly over there. Let me get this. Okay. Yeah, he had Tory to fly. He had a special jets to go get him and bring him over there to the celebration. He wanted him to be there, right? But check it out.
President Ibrahim Traore's flight to Moscow, intended as a simple diplomatic mission, was suddenly intercepted by American and French fighter jets. But in the skies, an unexpected ally arrived, risking a confrontation.
So they had jets in the sky trying to knock him off or apprehend him or whatever, I don't know, but
that could change history. What happens next will send shockwaves through the world. It was a calm morning in Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso. The sun was shining brightly as President Ibrahim Traore sat at his desk in the presidential palace, going over the final details of his upcoming trip. He had been invited by President Vladimir Putin to Moscow, where he would attend the 80th anniversary of the defeat of Nazi Germany in World War II. The occasion would include a grand military parade in Red Square, a powerful symbol of Russia's strength and resilience. This was a big moment for Ibrahim. It wasn't just about attending a celebration, it was about making a bold statement to the world. Since taking office, he had worked tirelessly to reclaim Burkina Faso's sovereignty, distancing his country from the influence of Western powers. His growing ties with Russia were seen by many as a move toward true independence, a defiance of the old imperial powers that had long controlled Africa's destiny. In the West, there was no hiding the growing anxiety. The United States and France, both nations with long-standing interests in Africa, had made it clear that they disapproved of Burkina Faso's increasing alignment with Russia. In private meetings, US and French officials had warned that any actions that threatened their influence in the region would not be tolerated. As Ibrahim prepared for his flight, he knew that this journey would not just be a diplomatic trip. It was a test, a challenge to the powers that had dominated Africa for so long. Would they allow him to reach Russia and attend the event? Or would they do whatever it took to prevent him from making this bold move? The moment the plane took off from Ouagadougou, Ibrahim knew the stakes were higher than ever. The crew was on high alert, knowing that the flight could be interrupted at any time. As the plane climbed higher into the sky, Ibrahim leaned back in his seat, looking out at the vast African landscape disappearing below. He was heading toward a new chapter for Burkina Faso, but as he would soon learn, the skies above were about to become the scene of a dramatic confrontation. Hours into the flight, everything seemed normal. Ibrahim's plane glided smoothly through the sky, the rhythmic hum of the engines soothing against the quiet murmur of the crew. However, as the plane flew across the Atlantic, a strange signal appeared on the radar. 2 dots moving quickly were heading toward his flight. The crew of the plane tensed. They immediately recognized the shapes on their radar, military jets moving fast and intercepting the flight path of Ibrahim's plane. These were no ordinary commercial aircraft. These were American and French fighter jets. At first, the pilots believed it might have been a mistake, but as the jets came closer, the situation became clear. It was an interception. There was no mistake. Ibrahim sat in silence, his eyes narrowing as he watched the jets approach. His mind raced. He had prepared for opposition, but this was unexpected. The radio crackled, and a stern voice from the U.S. military ordered, "This is a restricted airspace. You are ordered to land immediately. You are crossing into restricted airspace. Repeat, land immediately."
No offense, but if you're thinking about getting a HELOC from your local bank, you're...
Any comments so far?
Shalom. I had heard about the trip. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, but y- yeah,
This
but
was the
I
plan.
heard that he had an escort from Russia the whole way there. I hadn't heard anything about an interception or an attempt to intercept his plane.
Oh yeah, exactly. And not only that, they left. It's crazy. They had 23 jets flying back and forth over Burkina Faso the whole time he was gone.
Hmm.
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, we play a little more of this.
The US and France were clearly trying to prevent his trip to Russia, to stop him from attending the celebration of victory in Moscow. But Ibrahim Traoré was not one to back down from a challenge. The pilots glanced at each other, waiting for instructions. Ibrahim knew what needed to be done. His country's sovereignty and the message he was carrying were too important to let them be threatened by foreign forces. He looked out the window, seeing the American and French jets moving in closer, their positions locking around his plane. "I will not land," Ibrahim said quietly to his captain. "Continue on course. We are not diverting." The crew nodded in understanding. They knew this wasn't just a flight, it was a statement. But the risks were high. The situation could escalate quickly. Then, just as the tension reached its peak, a new sound filled the air, the unmistakable roar of jet engines, this time coming from a different direction. A squadron of Russian fighter jets appeared on Ibrahim's radar, moving in swiftly to provide air support. As the Russian jets flew close, the Western forces were forced to reconsider their position. They had come with the intention of stopping Traoré's flight, but now they were facing off with Russia, a country not easily intimidated. After hours of tense negotiation, the American and French forces reluctantly backed down. Their jets withdrew, retreating from the airspace, leaving Ibrahim's plane to continue its journey to Russia. The standoff had ended, but the implications of what had just happened would reverberate for years to come. Ibrahim Traoré's flight to Russia had become a symbol of defiance, an undeniable statement that Burkina Faso would no longer be bullied or intimidated. With Russia's support, Ibrahim had faced down the power of two Western superpowers and won. As the plane moved smoothly through the sky again, Ibrahim leaned back in his seat, his mind still racing. The danger had passed, but he knew that the world was watching. The flight to Russia was more than just a diplomatic trip. It was a bold statement to the world. Burkina Faso was free, and no one was going to stop it. The hour.
Okay. Any comments? Any other comments? Hey, I thought that was some need to know information. Open it up for questions and comments? Any dialogue from this morning or last night? Anybody have anything they want to interject? Some news, commentary.
Shalom, Brother Leonard. Yes, sir. Shalom, everyone. Again, I would just like to share some information. I was not able to be on Thursday, but I always try to, share information according to where we are today and how we got here, right? So we know that everyone out there, is celebrating pagan holidays. I'm not going to say everyone, hopefully not, but I was doing a little research on that and how it actually got started, right? So with that research, there was a lot of pagan mothers that were celebrated, right? But the one that I found most interesting was on the Greek goddess, right, Rhea, and her mother. So I just wanted to share a little bit of information about that, if I could, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, uh, it says Mother's Day is a well-known holiday with significant spending on gifts, flowers, and dining out. It originated in the United States with Anna Jarvis. I did not know this, who inspired by her mother's activism. After years of campaigning, Anna Jarvis finally saw her dream realized when President Woodrow Wilson signed a proclamation in 1914 declaring the second Sunday in May as Mother Day. In the United States, it quickly gained popularity and was adopted in various forms around the world. Yet, we will take a deeper look and see that its origins are from pre-Christian history. The tradition dates back to pagan celebrations in ancient Greece in honor of Rhea, the mother of gods. The ancient festivals was called Hilaria. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Hilaria, just in case someone would like to research that. It usually included 3 days of games, parades, entertainment, and food. Rhea was a Titan, the daughter of Gaia, Gaia, and the mother of many in the Greek pantheon, including Zeus. She was the Greek mother goddess of time. She represents the flow of time and the power of ancestral blessings. Her name means flow and ease, and her common essence is said to relieve the suffering chaos in the world as the wife of Kronos. She represents the eternal flow of time and generations. Menstrual blood is sacred to her, demonstrating her power of feminine fertility. And as the great mother, the flow represents the lifeblood, birth waters, and nourishing milk. In closing, Mother Day began as a celebration of Rhea, the mother of the Greek gods, then transitioned in the 17th century to a day to honor Mary, the mother of Jesus. Eventually, all mothers were included in the United States. Mother's Day is celebrated on the second Sunday of May, which usually falls on the day named in honor of their most powerful God, the sun. I will be reading from Jeremiah chapter 10, verses 1 and 2. Learn not the ways of the heathen. Verse 1, hear ye the word of the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. So that was some information on the pagan holiday, Mother's Day. Shalom.
Right, yeah. So understanding all that, like I said, people, when you start bringing forth the truth on certain situations, they take it as if it's some kind of male chauvinist thing. But just like you said, you're talking about that, you got in Egypt, Maya. She played the same role that this woman that you just mentioned played, and then based on it, when you understand what Christianity is, it's paganism, and it's bouncing off of these ancient traditions. When they concocted it, they turned wisdom into a woman in the Bible, because like I said, the Egyptians, they aren't dealing with all these other races of people. They're not dealing with the angels. That's the privilege and the blessing that Israel had. The men especially, they was dealing with these angels. That's how we got the Tanakh and the Torah. So they was giving them all these information, and so they understood the truth. But these people, because they wasn't dealing with heaven and they wasn't dealing with these angels, they come up with all kind of stuff. Like I said, they look at the sun and see what the sun does to the earth when it comes out, how it affects the earth and the trees and the animals. So they start worshiping the sun. But our forefathers, they had the privilege of dealing with these angels, these highly intelligent beings that they conversed with, they told them the truth. They knew the truth. But they look at it, like I said, with no understanding, they see a woman have a baby and they say she greater than the man because of the very with the king is she give birth to the king, then he grow up and become a king. So how can the king be greater than without no understanding? That's how they concocted it. And so, like I said, which is crazy, the Most High, the earth is the Most High woman, right? We know he came down and made Adam from the earth. The earth is the woman. We see that in Isaiah 66 when he's going to resurrect the whole house of Israel. It says the woman gave birth, and in one day the woman gave. So the earth is the Most High woman. But these people bouncing off of these ancient pagan traditions, they turned around and made wisdom. The Most High got to have a woman, and it's got to be wisdom. When they ain't how it works. Like we know that the angels got reproductive organs, but they ain't supposed to use them. So they ain't got no woman. So the same way with that. But them with a pagan mindset, they looking at it. The Creator got to have a woman. Okay. Any comments?
Yeah, I just want to add to what you're saying.
Right.
Even if you go back to DNA, we know, with all due respect, a woman can't even know her own race if it's not through a male in her family. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's just,
Michael
to add what you said. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Appreciate that information. So let me play this right here, and then we're gonna I'm gonna play this. I'll play this other video that I was telling you about. Topic for discussion, dealing with all the changes that 2025 Project 2025 had on America since Trump came in. But I'm gonna play this because I think it's some needed information. I know it enlightened me. So here we go.
The New Netherlands had a practice of stealing ships off the high seas.
So just for GP, New Netherlands was the name of New York before they renamed it New York. It was New Netherlands.
Other countries, it was called piracy. No, not piracy on the internet, but like actual piracy, where pirates from countries would engage in the legal practice of privateering, and they would go out and find other countries' boats and steal whatever was on those boats. That included stealing Africans who were being transported from Africa in the practice of slave trafficking. Are we playing with the legacy that was left to us historically? Say their names. Little Manuel, Big Manuel, Paolo D'Angelo, Gracia D'Angelo, Simon Congo, Peter Santome, Anthony Portuguese, Manuel de Garrett, Jan Francisco, Jan Fort Orange. All of those people have something in common. They all left something to you, and the question now is, did you claim what they left you, and are you using it the way you should? In 1626, 11 Black men, 11 Black people were taken from a Portuguese boat, and they were removed from that boat and taken to the colony of New Netherlands, established in the northern part of North America. That new country didn't have any streets. It didn't have paved roads. It had no infrastructure. Now, there were already people living here, and those people were called Native Americans. These new residents of New Netherlands did not want to do the hard labor of clearing out the land and making it so that it could be inhabitable and livable according to their European standards. So they brought in Africans, those 11 Black men whose names I just gave, to build their new nation for them. You see, those 11 Black men in the year 1635, after they had been working and toiling for 9 years to build the country, to build the roads, to build the houses, to turn this land that was raw, it was uncultivated, it was overgrown. Native Americans, as they rightly should have been, were constantly attacking. These Black men did an amazing job of helping them build their vision of a new country. So in 1635, they asked for wages. Yes, these slaves petitioned the colony of New Netherlands for wages. And guess what? They got them. Another 9 years later, by 1644, these men went to the governor of New Netherlands and said, "We have done a really good job for you, but we need to care for our own families. We need to care for our wives and for our children. We need to go have land of our own that we should be farming as well so that we can survive." This doesn't get talked about very often in our history books. The result of this is that you had the first Black owners in America of their own land at the beginning of slavery. Black men refused to be treated as only equipment, as only labor, as only property. They understood the value of their bodies. They understood the value of their minds, their intellect, their skills, what they brought to the table, and they leveraged that. They understood that there weren't many laws at the time that defined very clearly their status as laborers. At the time, this country was so new that the laws had not really been fleshed out about the parameters of freedom, who could be free, who couldn't be free, when were you going to be free. And so knowing that, these Black men very shrewdly and smartly went to the Dutch government in this new colony, and they took advantage of the fact that of the loopholes, of the weakness in the laws. They had their own prosperity, and that speaks a lot to the Black state of mind, even from their places of slavery. 20 years after those first 11 men received their property, the Englishmen came in and they took over the city of New Amsterdam, and they renamed it New York. The Englishmen came over and they were not as permissive. One, they curtailed and confined Black people physically. And then two, they did so psychologically. So it's almost like white men, over that course of time, from the 1664 time period to 1712, they spent several decades refashioning Black men into completely different people that could be more easily controlled, people who could be more easily subjugated. We are often taught that the part of slavery that's most important is bringing us over on the boats, putting us in shackles and chains, selling our bodies, and the things that we've seen in movies such as 12 Years a Slave. And all of that must always be honored. It must always be acknowledged. But we're never taught about the vision, the ingenuity, the intellect, how shrewd and clever we were, our negotiating tactics and our negotiating power. Those aspects and character traits are usually only associated with white men. Our ancestors were shrewd and clever and manipulative, and they understood their worth and they understood their value even while they were in chains. But we're never taught that. We're only taught about how slaves were subjugated, but we're never taught about those slaves who were ingenious. They were remarkable. They were cunning. They were conniving. We're never taught about those aspects of slavery. We're only taught about the parts where in the history books, the conversations teach us about brutality, teach us about being victimized, teach us about being oppressed, so that our state of mind is constantly oppressed. Rarely are we taught about the ingenuity of the slaves. Rarely are we taught about those slaves who refused to buckle, and they knew their worth and they wanted their property. They wanted their money. Englishmen snuffed that out. It was the goal of Englishmen
to brutalize us until we could no longer remember who we were and how cunning we could be. They wanted to turn us into childlike beings who were incapable of thinking of ourselves and viewing ourselves and seeing ourselves as their equals.
So that's what I was saying about this morning when I played the video about what they found when they came to Africa, when they found the city of Benin. And it tied right to this. And like I said before too, how we talking to highly intelligent beings. We talking to these Michael and Gabriel, Raphael, all these highly intelligent beings. We weigh. I mean, you got to know that they hid a bunch of stuff from us because of no other race of people was doing that. No other race of men. They talking to these highly intelligent beings, and so like I said before, we talked earlier when the class first started. It's an insult. Like JC in 2024 to be dealing with JC, that's an insult. Because you look at it and see that, yeah, these are all lies, smoke and mirrors, and to be come to dealing with it's too much information out there, and then our DNA and our track record. It's an insult to be entangled up with him, entangled up with the New Testament in 2025. Any comments? So that was, I think it's a series. The video was, I just played one part of it. It's The Land of the Blacks, Our Legacy That They Don't Teach. Lula White is the lady. So anybody got any comments, questions on that?
So I wanted to say that, again, worshiping idols, we cannot see the Lord of hosts. We cannot see the Creator, Yah. But we can see the figment of the JC. We can see those things. Those are considered idols. If you're going to worship something you can see, and then they're doing the cross as another worshiping an idol. He's an idol to those people, which you can see. So that's one of the things, is not to worship idols. So again, right there proves it. JC is an idol, so he's not a god.
Okay. Somebody else got something?
Yeah, shalom. I was just thinking, in scripture it says that there's nothing new under the sun, and yet these people brazenly labeled their book the New Testament. I mean, that shit you square in the eye, because it just doesn't jive with what it says in scripture, where it says there is nothing new under the sun. There's nothing. Somebody says something new, right away a flag should come up.
Exactly. Right, exactly. Like you said, he changed not. So if you're dealing with something now, it was here before. You just gotta walk it down, search it out.
Exactly.
Okay? Right. Anybody else?
Shalom, Brother Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
The people, the lady said in the video that 9 years later they went to the government to ask for wages and to tell them they did a good job and get them land and stuff.
Right.
You was teaching me this about Joseph and the baker when they was in the prison.
Right.
Joseph should have been praying to the Lord of hosts. He shouldn't have made a deal with the baker to get out of jail, just like these men shouldn't have been going to the Dutch. They should have been praying to the Lord of hosts.
Exactly. Right. And another thing that I thought I saw that reminded me of scripture was, remember when Jacob went to Laban's house and he served 7 years to get Rachel, but Laban tricked him. Then he served 7 more years. So twice he served 7 years. Then he served 7 more, 14 altogether. When listening to the story, it said those 11 men went to the people of the community after 9 years, demanded some pay, and then came back again 9 years later. So they did two stints, it's 9 years. So that kind of reminded me of what happened with Jacob. Okay, ain't that something?
Yes, sir. That was
Put a
good.
Hebrew
Yes,
take
sir.
on it, yeah.
Right.
Put a Hebrew take on it, yeah. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Let me play this. Then we'll pick a scripture. Okay.
For small business.
Making to our government and our democracy are shocking, but should not come as a surprise. Remember this? Almost all of it, from the attacks on abortion rights to the gutting of the civil service to the dismantling of the Department of Education, it was all spelled out very clearly in Project 2025. It was always accessible to the public. We knew what was in it, we knew who was writing it, and we knew what they were planning. We knew that the architects of it were drafting executive orders in anticipation of Trump's victory. We knew they were training a new class of political appointees to outmaneuver checks and only 104 days into his presidency, Donald Trump has already pushed through dozens of Project 2025 policies that we warned about on this show last year. If you had to wager a guess about the most dangerous chapter in Project 2025, this is the 922-page conservative playbook for a new Trump administration, what would it be? This Project 2025 thing, it's not an easy read. Project 2025 would encourage the next conservative administration to place the FBI under more, quote, politically accountable, end quote, leadership, which are code words for more loyal to the president. Project 2025 vows to slash the federal workforce and replace what's left of it with Trump loyalists. Project 2025 says that in an emergency situation when an abortion would save the life of the pregnant person, medical personnel are not required to perform that life-saving abortion. An FBI that works at the whims of the president, arresting his political opponents, journalists, prosecutors, critics, even judges who don't do his bidding. Now, that would transform the Voice of America from a reliable journalistic publication for global audiences to a personal propaganda machine for the president, transforming our federal government from groups of qualified experts to unblinking yes men. Project 2025 states, quote, the Biden administration's climate fanaticism will need a whole of government unwinding. The next conservative administration should rescind all climate policies from its foreign aid program, specifically USAID's Climate Strategy 2022 to 2030, shut down the agency's offices, programs, and directives designed to advance the Paris Climate Agreement. Project 2025 urges the Justice Department to go after, quote, providers and distributors of medication abortion. I'm sorry, but did somebody ask for this? No one involved in Project 2025 has any interest in a government of checks and balances. Project 2025 seeks to create a federal government that answers only to the president, and a president who answers to no one. I wish I could say I'm some sort of psychic, but it was all right here, all out in the open. Joining me now, David Graham, staff writer at The Atlantic, author of a particularly important and pertinent book, The Project, How Project 2025 is Reshaping America and the World. Also joining me, Zach Beecham, senior correspondent at Vox, who covers right-wing populism and challenges democracy in the United States and abroad. Zach is also the author of The Reactionary Spirit, How America's Most Insidious Political Tradition Swept the World. Good morning to both of you guys. Thanks for joining us. David, let me start with you. You could make the argument that the first 100 days haven't been great for Trump, but if you were involved in the writing of Project 2025, you got to be over the moon. This thing is a rapid deployment of all this stuff that's in the 922 pages.
That's right. And we've seen Paul Dans, who organized this, saying that it's beyond his wildest dreams. I also think the architects understood that a lot of the things that they wanted to do would not be popular. And so they understood the first 100 days were really essential, and they wanted to push as far as they could in those first 100 days before other institutions and the people of the United States had time to push back on them.
Again, Zach, not be popular is an understatement. I mean, before the election, polling indicated that Project 2025 was polling deeply negatively with voters. What's kind of amazing is the way they put it all in the book. Donald Trump said, got nothing to do with me, even though it was written by people who were all involved with Donald Trump and who said that he was just doing that to be political. But in fact, it was unpopular then. Polling now indicates it remains unpopular. So what gives here? It was unpopular before, it's unpopular now, but it's still happening.
I mean, it's an ideological design, right? It's not supposed to be we're doing what the public wants in the sense of, we have done focus grouping and we figured out what the thing is that we're trying to maximize in order to be most popular. It's that they believe they have a once in a generation attempt to revolutionize the structure of the American government, to move it into something that more closely resembles something like Viktor Orban's regime in Hungary. I don't think they would explicitly say this, but if you look at the policy details as they're laid out, the end result of it is something that very much does resemble what political scientists might call a competitive authoritarian regime, one in which the opposition is playing on fundamentally loaded playing grounds. And that is what's happening right now. Granted, they're doing it very badly. If I were a foreign autocrat, I'd be a little bit embarrassed to say that these people are following my playbook. But that is nonetheless what they're attempting.
So, David, let's think about this. And I think this is an interesting point Zach makes, and that is that there's a thing called unitary executive theory. There's the destruction of the administrative state, some of which the Supreme Court has helped with. These are concepts of governing that Project 2025 is underpinned by. And Zach's right. People don't think about these things. They literally don't think about these things. So when you dismantle USAID, there are only a small group of people who will actually protest that. Even when you dismantle things that matter to Americans, like the National Institutes of Health and their funding of universities, people don't realize that the medication that they get to cure the diseases they don't even need, that they don't even know they're going to get, are funded by the government. But it's conceptual reframing of how the American government runs. How badly can that go? In other words, can the next president just undo this stuff and fix it?
Well, Zach is totally right, and he can. I mean, I think one of the things that makes Project 2025 so important and so influential is they have thought deeply about how to make permanent changes to the structure of government. And you can roll back executive orders, you can try to restore funding for things, but you're not going to bring back the brain drain. You're not going to restart the things that are going on. So I think the government that the next president inherits is going to be just very different from the one that Trump did on January 20th.
Zach, let's talk a little bit about, you brought up Viktor Orban, right? Here's an interesting example. He continues to win elections in Hungary. It's like a lot of other countries where if you're in Budapest before an election, everybody thinks, oh, well, Viktor Orban is going to get wiped out. But actually, the rest of the country continues to vote for him. People get attracted all through history toward authoritarian tendencies. Most people give up their democratic rights. They're not stolen from them. They're not taken revolution. Most people just slowly give up these things because they sound like solutions.
Urinate excessive. Any comments on that? What do you think? Okay, yeah. So I was want to go back on something that I had we was talking about earlier about the when we was dealing with the food shortages and people saying that famine is coming, affliction is coming, and all this stuff. So the thing about that is, like I always say, you got to look at how everything happened in the beginning. When you had two baskets of figs. Even the songs we read this morning, he says that when you do keep on the right path and keep his commandments and all that, then you covered. So when you look at the judgment that went down with the good fig versus the bad fig, the good fig was protected. He sent them to Babylon. But he said famine, pestilence, the sword, and all those things came upon people that was wicked, that shunned his word. So that's what we're looking at now. The people that's aligning themselves with the Lord of hosts and aligning themselves with the truth, they don't have nothing to worry about. But if you can be an Israelite, but stiff-necked. So the same thing that happened to the people during Jeremiah time, that's what's coming now. It's not a day in the park like these Gentiles have you thinking that, oh, I got my own mind, I can make our own decision. No, you can make the wrong decision, and it's gonna cost you. Okay. Somebody has something? Okay. So with that being said, somebody want to pick a scripture or read it, then we'll break it down and we'll close out.
Yes, shalom, everyone. Deuteronomy 31, verse 16. It reads, And the Lord said unto Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people will rise up and go a whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land, whether they go to be among them, and will forsake me and break my covenant which I have made with them. But 6:17 kind of draws it more into it. Then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured, and many evils and troubles shall befall them, so that they will say in that day, Are not these evils come upon us because our God is not among us?
Okay. So, like I said before, that's where affliction come in at. The ones that rejected him, you're supposed to be expecting affliction. The righteous, the ones that keep his commandments, the ones that cling to him, trust in him, you know, it's not happening. It don't happen. Like he said, I took the good basket, I took to Babylon for their good. But he brought the sword and famine and pestilence on the wicked seed. And we see that happening over and over again. Okay. Anybody else have any comments or questions about anything before we go? Okay. Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
Shalom, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I see y'all tomorrow at 5. So
Right.
Shalom,
Shalom.
everyone.
Shalom.
Shalom.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who the God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and there's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is and the Godhead.